days at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback Podcast time. Welcome to the 49ers versus Seattle Seahawks game preview show, part 2, because we've done one of these once before, Alex.
It's true, part 2 Electric Boogaloo, and it's always Electric Boogaloo. It's the 40 freaking Niners. Let's do this. And speaking of 40 freaking Niners, Cutback crew, you can head on over to the Cutback shop and grab this one right there, or that one right there. I know. They're the same shirt, but they're available at the 49ers Cutback shop at 49erscutbackshop.com. So you can always grab yourself one of those so you can rep the 40 freaking Niners no matter where you're at or where you go.
Yeah, maybe you want to be at the Grand Canyon.
Maybe you want to be like our boy David.
Yeah, or maybe you just had a new baby and you want to sport it in a nice picture.
Possibly. Yeah. Who knows? But you should definitely cop yourself one for the holiday season. The holiday season's coming up, and we have wonderful, fantastical merch over there that Jay in the Bay even plugged. Jay in the Bay has got himself some 49ers Cutback gear. Don't miss out. Get yourself some too. Get your loved one some 49ers gear from the 49ers Cutback shop. You won't regret it. But Ant, we got more important things than plugging our merch shop. We got the game. We got the game this weekend against the Seattle Seahawks in Seattle. Yeah. Part 2 of this matchup in which the Niners lost at home in a very unfortunate game that started off great and then quickly went sideways and went south. Look, the 49ers definitely need this one, but they're going to be hindered. No Deebo Samuel, no Fred Warner, potentially no Marcel Harris, long shot Dre Greenlaw. There's a lot of pieces that aren't on the field. How in the world are the 49ers offensively and defensively ever going to be able to get this done?
It's a good question. I think the one thing that the 49ers got going for them is that Seattle is completely discombobulated. They're not playing well together. They just look out of sorts. The offense isn't clicking. The defense isn't clicking. Nothing really has been going well. I think the only player that's been making any sort of plays is Jamal Adams, and somehow the ball has found him for 2 interceptions, and he passed Vince Wilfork for most career interceptions. So well done to him for finally being a defensive end and not just a defensive tackle. Well done, sir. But I think that's one of the biggest things is they have to try to find their identity. The 49ers were at this point early on in the season where they just couldn't get things to click. They were not executing at a high level. They were leaving plays out on the field, and Seattle's doing that, but Seattle's doing that at the nth degree. I mean, it is really bad right now. Russell Wilson is missing receivers by 3 and 4 yards, which I've never seen Russ do in his entire career.
Ever.
Something is definitely not right there with the hand. I don't know if any of that goes into a mental standpoint as well. Maybe he hasn't overcome it mentally. I'm not sure what it is, but right now I know he's not comfortable. And he's not comfortable. This team can't make up for it because Russ has always disguised all the problems with that team. He's always covered all their issues, and now they don't have him to cover the issues, and now all the issues are apparent for everyone to see. And the things that people were saying about the 49ers early on this season, they're saying about Seattle now. Pete Carroll's on the hot seat. Russell Wilson's going to be gone. This is going to be a completely different roster in the future. So I think there's a lot of questions around Seattle, and that might be a good sign for the 49ers where they're able to overcome the things that they have going on as far as injuries and be able to beat a Seattle Seahawks team that's definitely not playing at their best right now.
Not playing at their best. They're not healthy. Their identity is in all sorts of, scramble cahoots. They don't really know who they are on top of the distractions. Is Russ staying? Is Pete Carroll the coach? Y'all don't have a first-round pick. Y'all are missing a couple of picks. It's not just a first-round pick. You're missing a couple of rounds of picks. And you don't really have pieces right now to be a competitive football team. And if you don't have those, who are you going forward? How much longer is Bobby Wagner going to be playing for? There's a lot of questions for the Seattle Seahawks. And yes, there are questions for the 49ers right now, but none of them are identity-based. It's all health-based right now. And can you continue to be the team that we've seen the last 3 weeks without having some key pieces? And look, it's going to be difficult. By no means, are either one of us going to sit here and pretend like, the task in front of the 49ers in this game is easy. It's Seattle. They're playing terrible. It's fine. No, not having Fred Warner is a big blow. Not having Dre Greenlaw to help Azeez Al-Shaair out there is a big blow. Not having Marcel Harris to potentially be able to go with Azeez Al-Shaair out there is an even bigger blow, because if you have Marcel Harris, You and I both feel like, D'Amico Ryans can do enough with both him and Demetrius Flanagan-Foles that you can rotate that linebacking core enough to get this thing done this week against the Seattle Seahawks. But if you don't have one of them and you have to roll with just both of those guys out there, you're having to rely on a practice squad guy. You have to rely on even more safety play to come up potentially in the box. It makes it a lot. It gives you less options in terms of how to attack the Seattle Seahawks. And now they've gone out and signed Adrian Peterson. So deep down, you and I both think that they're going to try to attack the 49ers with the run game. But can they consistently do that? Can they consistently be that team? They've never really been that team consistently since Russ became Russ, right? And Russ became Russ very early on in his career, but they still had Marshawn Lynch to lean on, and they leaned on him heavy. You didn't have the big name wide receiver in DK Metcalf at that time, so you didn't have receivers. I mean, they had selfless wideouts. Doug Baldwin was a guy who had a chip on his shoulder, but was an undrafted dude. This wasn't a prima donna. Like he was a grindstone grinder. Like he just grinded it out. He worked his butt off and his tail off constantly, and that's what made that passing attack and that offense so viable and why it worked, because you had the guy in Marshawn Lynch you could hand the ball to and he was going to do his thing. And then you had guys like Baldwin out there who were just going to win consistently. Now you have a guy in DK who needs the football, Ant. He needs it. He has to have it. It's a must. And so you can't be that team that you used to be where you could just hand the ball off and Russ doesn't have to cook. And also Russ is not that quarterback anymore. He's a confident guy. He's a guy who believes in himself and he wants to be the guy who leads this team and figures this out. And right now he's not healthy. Can he put the ego aside and, just turn around and hand the ball off knowing that you have a weak team and, F what DK Metcalf wants, F wanting to get him the football. This is our best way to get this done. Can they be that team for 4 quarters?
No, they can't. I don't think so. And if I'm the 49ers defense, I'm trying to make them prove that they can, which means don't course correct way too early. You know what I mean? Go in there. I mean, if you need to put 8 in the box, put 8 in the box, but don't do anything crazy out of the ordinary where you get DK in a situation where he can get, a big play early. Just go ahead and make them earn every single thing they get. And I think if you do that consistently, they haven't proven that they can win play in and play out. And the 49ers have proven they can execute play in and play out for 18, 19, 20-yard drives. And those are things right now that they can do. So if you give the 49ers something, they're going to take it. Right now, Seattle hasn't proven that if you give them a little bit, they're going to continue with it the entire time and take it. So that's what I would try to make them do. Make them play, pretty much mistake-free football. And really drive DK nuts, because if you take away DK early in this game, I think he's going to start going crazy. His numbers over the last few games, he hasn't caught more than 3 balls. He hasn't had more than 35 yards receiving. It has been a struggle for him since Russ came back. You're already hearing the whispers that Geno's a better option than Russ right now, which is crazy for me to even think about. But those are good things for the 49ers because it comes at a perfect time where they can overcome, what is some pretty serious injuries to their number one offensive weapon and then their number one defensive player in Fred Warner. And they're going to have to overcome that. I think Azeez can make those calls at the linebacker position. Mm-hmm. And I believe that the 49ers can find a way because they have Kyle Shanahan and they have a very impressive run game. If they can get both of these things, rolling, if they're able to get by on defense, but if this run game can serve as a big-time support of that defense by keeping the Seattle Seahawks offense off the field, it'll actually benefit that defense big time. 49ers need to run the football like crazy. They need to pound that rock. And if they do, they're going to have a very good opportunity to not only win this game, but put Seattle away.
It's also going to help them mask not having Deebo Samuel.
Yes, 100%.
If you're able to run the football and you don't have to pass as often or in the same ways that you would, if you're able to run effectively and get yourself into 3rd and shorts consistently, 3rd and mediums, not having Deebo Samuel is not the end of the world. Brandon Ayuk can win in those situations. Kyle Juszczyk can win in those situations. George Kittle can win in those situations. And Jawan Jennings can win enough of those situations, as can Trent Sherfield, in those situations to make up for the fact. You can have if Jawan Jennings and Trent Sherfield and Travis Benjamin combined can do similar things to what Deebo do. Stretch when you need to stretch, win over the middle when you need to win over the middle, and be the safety valve, kind of dump off hot route option when you need to, then you're fine in the pass game. You can have 3 guys make up for that. And at some point in time, you're going to get those one-on-one matchups with Brandon Ayuk where you're going to be able to take advantage, especially if you're running that ball that effectively. They're going to have to start putting 8, 9 guys in the box, and that means man-to-man situations and man-on-man coverage for the 49ers wide receivers and tight ends and fullbacks, them to win in space against questionable corners, questionable DNs, and questionable linebackers.
Yeah, and the 49ers won in play action against Seattle early in that football game before Jimmy got hurt. They were able to, handle them in that way. And that first drive was very impressive for the 49ers. It was like boom, boom, boom.
And tight end 3, Ross Dwelley caught a touchdown.
Yeah, which means Seattle, overall, their secondary is not that great.
Correct.
Seattle has holes on defense, and they have, the one guy, the one shining star in Bobby Wagner. And then everyone else is kind of just, they're average. And I don't care that you gave up, what is 2 or 3 first-round picks for Jamal Adams, whatever it is. He's not worth that. And the fact that you gave that, that up, I mean, he's a liability in some situations. You would think a player like that, you would be able to put him on George Kittle, and that would be a one-on-one matchup that you could do all day. I don't think that's an avenue they can go with. And I'm not even sure he can win against Kyle Juszczyk consistently. I think Kyle Juszczyk could get after him. So there are matchup issues for the Seattle Seahawks. The 49ers match up well. So even without Deebo Samuel, even though Deebo Samuel does unlock this offense, even without him, I think they can put up points in this football.
And it's going to be key, man. If they can, you take so much pressure off of your defense in terms of asking them to be perfect or asking them to be a team that, hey, let's give up 17 today. Let's give up 10 today. Let's keep them to 3. If your offense puts up 30 plus again, your defense looking there going, hey guys, can we just find a way to get a couple stops and only let them score, a couple touchdowns? Like, we can do that. This defense can find a way to, give up 3 scores and give up 21 points and still come out of this thing with a big win, or win potentially by double digits. But it's going to start with the offense. It 100% is. And my key matchup offensively that could help with that is the one that you just talked about. It's Jamal Adams versus George Kittle. Can the people's tight end win against a D end? If he can consistently, and you and I both believe that he can. Number one in the run game, you ask George Kittle is going to win more times than not. Now, Jamal Adams is pretty phenomenal against the run. I've seen him take on lineman blocks and shed off them. His speed is a problem, definitely. But again, the 49ers have shown the creativity in the run game, and George Kittle is going to be a dominant run blocking force who most of the time isn't going to end up, I would imagine, having to block a D end, Jamal Adams a lot of the times. He's going to end up going after a linebacker, whether it's Wagner, whether it's KJ, not KJ Wright, but Brooks is the other guy that's out there. Those situations, not so much, but in the pass game, you could find yourself in situations where if Seattle was stacking that box, the D end is going to have to cover George Kittle in space, and George Kittle has to win. And he has to win big on those things, whether it's short little out routes, whether it's seam routes over the top, whether it's corners, deep ends, drags, whatever it ends up being. If George Kittle is winning consistently and the 49ers are able to dial up the right play action at the right time with a stacked box, then you're talking about big plays, chain movers, keeping the 49ers offense on the field, keep that Seattle defense on the field, and letting your defense rest, recoup, and refocus, and keeping Russ on the sideline. If Russ isn't able to get back out there consistently, grip a football, throw, he's long times in between, that finger's going to start acting up, and that's a positive thing for the 49ers.
I'm glad you brought up the seam passes, because in that football game, Jimmy Garoppolo got hurt the first time they played, and Trey Lance came in, and they had opportunities to go up the seam to the tight ends, and they just, Trey didn't see him. He missed on those opportunities. Jimmy Garoppolo can't miss on those opportunities in this game. He needs to take advantage of it. George Kittle didn't play in that game. This was the first game that George Kittle didn't play for the 49ers, and if he would have, it probably would have flipped the script on the game. Elijah Mitchell didn't play in that football game. All those things go into play. And the reason I bring up Elijah Mitchell is because my key matchup is going to be this 49ers run game against Bobby Wagner. And the reason that I made it for the run game against Bobby Wagner is because Bobby Wagner is going to be the one that's going to be tasked with making sure that this, the front seven really gets it done. If the 49ers can consistently get him blocked, they're going to have an opportunity to keep pounding the rock. And they need to pound the rock consistently. They need to run the ball 35 to 40 times in this football game. They need to make it so they don't put any added stress on their defense. They need to convert on third downs. And the one way they're going to do that is by getting, the running game going on early downs. It's also going to set up play action pass, which they can execute and get the ball down the field. All of it is about taking the pressure off these wide receivers. All of it's about taking pressure off your own defense. So in this case, your best defense is a great offense. And part of the way you do that is running the football. Elijah Mitchell's proven he can do it. We're going to see if we're going to get JaMychal Hasty back or not. But you got Jeff Wilson Jr. to help get those tough yards as well. So I look for them to have a big game. But I also look for Jimmy Garoppolo to be able to take advantage of the secondary and take advantage of play action pass because this run game is going so good.
It's huge, man. The run game being able to execute and dominate and be able to control the line of scrimmage, get 3 or 4 on first down, not have negative plays, right? Don't put us in a negative game script. That's going to be key. Kyle Shanahan, he's been rolling. The first drives for the 49ers have typically been the last 4 or 5 games solid. And it's been 2 of those 5 games mistakes. right? You had last week against Minnesota on that first drive where you have a mistake from Jimmy Garoppolo that ends the drive in a pick after a big play that gets him past midfield. Same thing with the first drive against the Arizona Cardinals where you had a strip. And, well, that gets blown up in your face, and there goes your first drive, even though you're moving the ball very well and very effectively. Kyle Shanahan, if the 49ers get the ball first in this football game, this game script, if it's dialed in, and I believe it will be, but if it's dialed in, the Niners are able to march down the field and put up a score very quickly in this football game, you put the pressure immediately on Russell Wilson in this offense who's been struggling, who knows they need to get things going. 49ers come out early, punch him in the mouth, move the football. This would be the perfect game, Ant, if you can get another 12, 15, 18 play drive down the field that leads to points where Russ is sitting there watching this team move the ball and being like, oh no, we have to execute. There's no room for error because if we falter one drive, they could do this again.
Yep.
And that could be the end of the half. It could be looking at a situation where if the 49ers can execute, put two drives like that together, long sustaining drives where Seattle touches the ball 2 or 3 times, 2 or 3 drives in that first half, and they only have 2 or 3 opportunities to come away with points. And if you don't come away with points, you're looking at a 2-score deficit very early in this football game.
Yeah, you could see the amount of times that each team has the ball go down drastically, especially if Seattle is trying to use their possessions running the football as well. Yeah. You might have quarters go by really quick, and if that happens, it limits the amount of opportunities, which is good for the 49ers defense, who is going to have some struggles there. I think at some point Kyle Shanahan will open it up a little bit, especially once Seattle starts creeping. There's no way they don't creep Jamal Adams and those guys into the box and make Jimmy Garoppolo beat them. The thing is can Brandon Ayuk, can George Kittle get those wins? Can Kyle Juszczyk get those wins? I believe they can. I believe they're good enough to do it. I don't see anyone on Seattle's defense that I think, oh my gosh, they're going to lock down somebody. If they had a lockdown corner they could put on Brandon Ayuk and then they could double George Kittle, and then still be able to cover Kyle Juszczyk with a very talented corner or safety, I would say they had an opportunity. Too many weapons, too many ways for Kyle Shanahan to scheme it up, too many ways for him and Mike McDaniel to scheme up run plays where you don't know whether you're supposed to follow Kyle Juszczyk or run away from Kyle Juszczyk. And that's the key, is keeping these guys off balance, keeping them out of sorts. And with a defense and offense that's already been playing out of sorts all year, it's not hard to figure out, where you can go attack them.
A lot of ways the 49ers offense can attack.
Yep.
But this is a week where they need to be a team that scores 30+. If they can be that team this week, you open up a lot of things. Because the defense has holes and it has questions right now, especially at the linebacker position. Can Demetrius Flanagan-Foles play at a high level for 4 quarters? Can he do it for a short amount of time? Yes. Did it last week for little bits and spurts.
11 plays.
Whole 11 plays. And that's 3 whole drives right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can he do it for 4 quarters? Can he do it for a whole quarter? That's another question in and of itself. And we've seen tape of Demetrius Flanagan-Foles this year already against the Chicago Bears. Not pretty. It was the opposite of pretty. It was one of the worst professional linebacker film tapes I think either one of us has ever watched.
I would say that's pretty accurate, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you wanted him cut that day.
I did. It was a bad look. It was a bad showing.
It was really bad. So this is big questions with this linebacking group and the run fits. Not so much with Azeez, because you and I both feel like this guy can handle it. He wears the green dot helmet at practice, so he's used to hearing the play calls. He's used to having to understand, digest, and be able to communicate that back. Like you said, since they brought Azeez in, they've been essentially molding him to be a potential backup linebacker for Fred in the middle if it ever happens, and he's had to step in before and play in the middle for Fred. Azeez has definitely elevated this year, so Azeez is not something I'm worried about. It's everything else. It's Demetrius Flanagan-Foles. It's Talanoa Hufanga on the field, because as we've seen, Hufanga, when he does come on the field sometimes, yes, they bring him in the box, but typically when they bring him in the box, they're blitzing him, whether that's off an edge, up a gap, whatever that is. Typically when he's on right now, he's playing deep third, and it's because Jaquiski Tartt and Jimmy Ward have been much better in the box than Talanoa Hufanga in terms of run fits. But then that also leaves problems with coverage, because Hufanga isn't as good in coverage as Jaquiski Tartt and Jimmy Ward, so there is a weakness there. You are losing a little bit there, and that's not a knock on Talanoa Hufanga, because the fact that 5th round Talanoa Hufanga can even be on the field and contribute in a very positive way for this defense is a blessing, because if you didn't have him, you'd be rolling with Jared Maiden, who was cut from this roster and was on a practice squad. Tony Jefferson, who has been up and down when he has played. I mean, you're rolling with an unknown piece that you haven't seen on the field. So Talanoa Hufanga has definitely been an uptick for this Niners team and be able to do a lot of different things. But it's going to be a very interesting week with this defense and what they need to do.
Yeah, 100%. I think it is. And you've been talking about that grouping, and that's actually what my key matchup is Russ and Collins against the 49ers linebackers and safeties, because I think it's going to take a combination to stop this run game this week. The Adrian Peterson thing is an outlier, but it's really about stopping Alex Collins and what he wants to do. You want to get after him, and then also you want to stop Russ from being able to run. He will pull the read option. He will run the football. I know they're trying to protect his hand. When it comes to 49ers rivalry games, you never know what's going to happen. And if you're not being successful in the pass game, you need to find ways to be successful. And if that is being able to take advantage of a defensive end that's maybe a little too eager to get down the line of scrimmage and him pulling and then protecting himself with a slide, which we've seen Russ do pretty consistently. But it's going to be all about how can you mask what is going on in the middle. You need to be able to bring safeties. You need to be able to play these linebackers in certain situations where they can take away the read option, where they can take away running backs out of the backfield. And it's going to be about tackling. And that's one thing that Azeez Al-Shaair struggles a little bit with. His tackle rate is not as good as like a Dre Greenlaw or Fred Warner. And he's got to improve on that. And we have no idea what we're going to get out of Demetrius Fleming and Foles. I'd feel a lot more comfortable if I knew Marcel Harris was for sure going to play, but being in concussion protocol, you just never know if he's going to play or not. So there's questions, and there's questions about how they're going to play these safeties. I think you're going to see a variety of different things. I think you're going to see a variety of different matchups. I think sometimes they're going to sit in a heavy nickel, and they're going to put, the extra safety on the field. They're going to put, maybe two safeties in the box, and they're going to play games with them. They're going to put Jimmy Ward over the top, and they're going to play Tart and Hufanga in the box, and they're going to move them around depending on strength. And I think they're going to want to put Jaquiski Tart on the strength side, and they're going to want to put Hufanga away from it. I think you're right. Hufanga's going to blitz sometimes. I think they're going to use him in that way. I think they'll also bring Tart. They brought Tart against the Vikings, and he got home just a second short, but he did prevent the pass from being completed. So there's going to be a lot of creative things that can do this. With these guys, I wouldn't even be surprised to see stunts, twists, everything with these linebackers as well when they're coming on blitzes. So I'm excited about see how they handle it. I'm excited to see what they do to disguise their coverages. But it's going to be different than anything we've seen from the 49ers before. But one thing we got going for us, D'Amico Ryans, Robert Saleh, over the last 3 times that they've played Russell Wilson, have really confused him early on in football games. If they can do that in this game, the way the 49ers are running offense, it could be too late by the time that Russell Wilson and the Seahawks offense figures out what is going on. And the 49ers could already be up a couple of touchdowns, and it could be halftime, and you don't have as much time to come back.
And you couldn't have segued any better into what my key matchup is, because if D'Amico Ryans is doing just that and confusing Russ Wilson, then it's going to come down to one thing and one thing only that could completely change the entire outcome of this football game. And it's this front line for the defensive line for the 49ers against the Seahawks O-line. If they are able to get pressure, if they are able to not get beat on double teams, if they are able to win one-on-one matchups and get pressure on Russell Wilson, and Russell Wilson is confused, not seeing the thing he wants to go to, not able to get the ball out quickly and effectively and efficiently, then you are talking about a potentially snowball effect of disaster for the Seahawks offense. And last week against the Washington football team, no Chase Young. They still have a lot of talent. Don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting here saying no Chase Young and they immediately fall off a cliff in terms of their pass rush and their D-line presence. But no Chase Young means a big thing for them. And Russ was still having to hold him to the football a long time. He does not look comfortable. If there is a little bit of pressure right now, he is tucking that ball away and wanting to move around and do things. So, number one, keep your rush lane integrity right. But number two, get after it. Get after it. Get after him quick. Be aggressive. Get inside. Make your moves. Do what you need to do to get Russ moving right now, because he's not throwing accurately. I have a hard time believing that he's going to be throwing even more accurately if he's on the move or with pressure in his face. So the D-line can win and get after it. D'Amico Ryans can keep Russell Wilson guessing in terms of coverage, what he's seeing, not wanting to pull the trigger on read one right away because, this looks like this, but maybe it's this. And he holds on to it just for that split second. You're talking about a situation where this D-line could potentially capitalize in huge ways and maybe make Russell Wilson make some big mistakes or take some big sacks.
Yeah, it could be. And you're right. He doesn't look comfortable. I think part of the reason he doesn't feel comfortable is that's how he hurt his hand, in the pocket.
It's true.
Hitting his hand on the helmet, and then all of a sudden, there you go. So it might be in his mental right now. He's thinking about that. He's trying to be aware of his surroundings because he's worried about having a similar, re-injury happen. All those things are valid points, and you're right. We got to get after him and keep our integrity. But I think more so than anything, get after him more than we would normally. Because normally you would be so worried about your rush integrity that you would kind of want him to just stay in the pocket and then throw the football. I think in this case, you do want to get after him a little bit more and get him off his spot. The one thing is if you collapse this pocket on him, and we've talked about this before, if you get Armstead and like an Arden Key, for instance, collapsing the pocket from the inside with their height, it's almost impossible for him to throw the football over the top. He has to find a way to give that, get an avenue. So Nick Bosa and Samson Ebukam are going to have to do a very good job of making sure they don't go too far upfield this week and really let this pocket collapse on top of them and all of them kind of meet at the quarterback. If they do that, I think you're right. I think they can be very successful and they can stop Russell Wilson and probably create a lot of turnovers too, because if he throws errant footballs this week, they'll probably get picked off because right now the 49ers are the ones getting on the turnover train and really making things happen.
100%. They have been the last few weeks. They've been winning the turnover battle. The turnovers, we went from them being very rare, Ant, to them being very commonplace. You're expecting at least 2 a game now from this team. This is a situation in a week with a quarterback who's hampered by a throwing finger, a finger on his throwing hand, where if the pressure gets home and that pressure on the interior wins, I mean, Armstead especially, he's winning consistently and causing a lot of errant throws from quarterbacks. You have a smaller quarterback in Russell Wilson who's dealing with a hand injury on the throwing hand. Get after it, get home quickly, get there, get in his face, make him take some chances, and if he does, let's capitalize, because if we do, this game could turn ugly quick, and if it turns ugly quick, we are all of us, top to bottom, 49ers fans, the Cutback crew, and us here on the pod, are going to be very, very happy with a huge halftime lead.
Yeah, 100%. If the 49ers start running away with this football game, I'm just going to be running around doing Tiger Woods celebrations, all over the court. I'm just going to be running around, the living room doing that because I would love to see the 49ers finish off the Seahawks with a big blowout. I'm not forecasting that, but I will take it 100%.
Definitely will take it 100%, Ant. Never going to turn those down. Never going to. I
love blowouts.
I love blowouts too, Ant.
Yeah.
You know what?
Just like Paulie D, blowout. No, wrong blowout.
Wrong blowout.
Okay,
wrong
bad.
Blowout. Oh, look. Oh, of course you went there with the jersey. Sure. Look, at the end of the day, though, there could be a blowout. But the only way it's going to happen, Ant, is if our Wow That's Bold predictions come true. And that's where we're headed right now, folks. Cutback crew. It's time for Wow That's Bold.
Wow, that's really bold. Whoa.
If this is your first time here on the 49ers Cutback, number 1, I'm glad you finally made it. But number 2, Wow That's Bold, this isn't for just regular takes, folks. We're not even saying these things are going to happen. But what we are saying is these are really bold. Wow, whoa, super bold. And it's all about being as bold as humanly possible.
Well, I don't know about it's humanly possible. I try to be bold within reason. You try to be bold beyond humanly possible.
It doesn't say bold, like reasonably bold. It says really bold, Ant.
I like to be reasonably bold.
Okay, fine. You can be reasonably bold. I will be really bold. And let's start with your offensive. Wow, that's bold then, Mr. Reasonably Bold. What's your reasonably bold prediction for the 49ers in Week 13?
It's actually pretty bold.
Okay.
But mine is going to revolve around Jimmy Garoppolo.
Okay.
And I have Jimmy Garoppolo going for 250 yards and 3 touchdowns in this football game.
3 tutties and 250, huh? I like that.
Yeah.
It is reasonable, but then the 3 tutties makes it, it takes it from that reasonableness to that pretty bold, like really bold category.
Bold, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I think he'll get over 100 again on his completion percentage. I mean his
QBR.
QBR, yeah.
I like that.
Yeah,
6 straight games.
6 straight games, yeah.
It'll lead the league still. I like that, Ant. That's a good bold prediction there offensively. And from your reasonably pretty bold prediction,
here we go.
We're gonna go bold, Ant. We're gonna go really bold. Because there's one thing that I know about the 49ers, it's they like to run the football. And there's something else that I know based on watching the old 22 film. Kyle Shanahan's getting very creative. And some people may be going, what? He's just running tosses and inside runs and counters, like but see, he's using Kyle Juszczyk in very peculiar ways each and every week. He's shown now on film they'll run opposite of Kyle Juszczyk, then they'll run with Kyle Juszczyk, then they'll send Kyle Juszczyk one direction and get everyone flowing, and then come back the other way, and everyone seals off their blocks. And they're really literally a block or two away on some of these runs from, I'm talking bus, like major bus. And you know what? It's this week. It's time. The 49ers are going to rush for 325 yards and 2 tutties. Get ready, Cutback crew. It's coming. It's coming. 325 and 2 tutties, Ant.
Okay. I mean, if they run for that many yards, they're absolutely winning the football game.
100%. And also winning the time of possession by 35 minutes.
Yeah, it's going to be a low-scoring affair.
The Niners will score literally probably 28 points on 4 possessions, and they'll only have 6 of them. I'm down.
I'm down. I'm not against it. It's just that's impressive.
325 and 2 tutties.
Wow.
Book it.
And no Raheem Mostert.
No.
Wow.
No.
Okay, I mean that was really bold. Whoa,
I'm trying.
Whoa.
I'm not saying that. No, I'm not saying Elijah Mitchell is getting all 325, folks.
Oh, I appreciate that because if he did, he'd be pretty close to 1,000 yards.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
You think it's going to
be
be
the single game rushing
It's going to
record?
be more eclectic, where you're going to get some Jeff Wilson Jr., some Brandon Ayuk, some.
I'm thinking, dude. Well, I mean, if you want me to get specifics on the boldness, I'm thinking you're gonna have a situation where Elijah Mitchell could potentially get closer to 200. You'd have Jeff Wilson sprinkling in 50. You'd have Brandon Ayuk sprinkling 25, 30. JaMychal Hasty sprinkling in 20, and then something like George Kittle getting some rush attempts because Kyle Shanahan did tease that they're using Deebo Samuel in a very similar way to the way that they've used George Kittle in the past, and we have seen George Kittle run tight end sweeps.
I like that. So George Kittle will be used as a decoy this week. Thank you, Alex.
Possibly could be the case.
100, George for a decoy for 100, Alex.
yeah, show it to me. But defensively, and we also got wow, that's bold, and I like yours, but I'm going to start off. Off with my wow, that's
good.
bold.
I like that
because it builds off of my defensive key matchup, which was this D line. Yes, D'Amico Ryan's got to keep Russ guessing, but the D line's got to win, and I think they're going to. And I think they're going to be aggressive, and they're going to send some blitzes at the right time, and they're going to get home in a big way. And Russ is going to hold on to the football. He's going to have some passes batted down, and he's going to start getting gun shy. And it's going to lead to a snowball effect that's going to result in 6 sacks for this 49ers defensive line. 6.
I like that a lot. As somebody that's bold, predicted that before. Sure. I'm very appreciative of it. The fact that it's against Russell Wilson makes it really bold.
It does.
Whoa.
Super bold.
Yeah, I like it. My defensive that's bold is going to send around a player that I once in a film breakdown said I wanted to get him cut. Or not get him cut, but
you wanted him cut.
He deserved to be cut for his play in that football game.
He did. It was pretty bad.
He recovered last week. He played a lot better in his 11 snaps. He played admirably. But Demetrius Flanagan Foles, depending on what reporter is speaking.
Or what broadcaster or announcer crew.
Correct. I don't know how he wants to, his play from one week was foul. So maybe he's Foles. I don't know. He's Fouls, whatever it is. His name, neither here nor there. Anyways, he's going to create one turnover. And he's going to have 1 sack in this football game. And he's going to make an impact for the San Francisco 49ers and possibly defeating the Seattle Seahawks.
If you are on Patreon, then you know how bold this is. If you were on Patreon and watched that Bears breakdown, because we talked about, after the reaction show, we talked all week about how excited we were to break down that game film, how excited we were to finally break down a 49ers win. Oh, thank goodness. And then we absolutely hated life because it was so hard to watch Demetrius Flanagan Foles out there trying to play linebacker in the NFL. And I say trying because he was trying. He was not doing. He was not succeeding. He was not executing or being great at. He was trying and failing miserably to play linebacker in that game. So yes, this is a complete 180, Ant. I love this from you.
Yeah. Well,
we need it to happen.
Well, I mean, the thing is right, I can watch somebody and be objective and say that, one game he played completely like a deer in headlights and was just standing there. And then weeks later, when he got his opportunity, he looked a lot better. And I'm completely okay with that. And I mean, a lot of he should be cut today is a lot of hyperbole. That's just me joking around as far as like his play deserved that.
It was dramatic and over the top because of how bad it was.
Right, because it was that bad. I don't want anyone to think it wasn't that bad. It truly was that bad. The good news is he played a little bit better, last week. Let's see if he can, build upon that. And if he can, hopefully he does what the Wild That's Bold and he makes a big impact on this football game because they're going to try to attack him if he's in.
He is the guy that they're going to go after, and they're going to run his way. They're going to send guys at him. They're going to test him in coverage. They're going to test him in space. Demetrius needs to step up. This is a week that he has to get it done at, and I like this Wild That's Bold because it's a potential redemption arc for a player who had himself a horrendous game just a few weeks ago.
And a reason for me to buy a 45 jersey.
But it can't be any worse than a 14 jersey.
Well, what's wrong with 14?
I mean, nothing other than they can't stay healthy.
You think Ray Wersching was a kicker for years.
It's true.
1981, he basically helped win the Super Bowl.
Accurate. You're not wrong.
Oh.
But since then, I mean,
what
has 14 done for you?
What about Jim Druckenmiller? Y.A. Tittle. Y.A. Tittle?
Y.A. Tittle, yes. Y.A. Tittle, yes.
Jim Druckenmiller, fantastic. Bill Musgrave, wonderful. I'm not seeing the problem with these number 14 jerseys.
All right, fair enough. I teach their own, man. I get it. Just a bad string on recently, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah. I guess. Look, it's time, though. We've got our bold predictions in. Hopefully they go their way. Make sure you're leaving yours down in the comments section below right this minute, right now, right at this moment. But it's time to get into picks, and NFC West picks in particular, and one special NFC game this week. The Azorean One is here. He is back to make his picks. And it's time for Lock It Up.
What is up, Cutback crew? It is officially December. It's time to start saying things like Happy Holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, all of that. It's that month. It happens now. It's the holly jolly season. And I thought, to kick things off right, being the first half week of December, I got you guys a gift. Yeah, I know. I got you a gift. I know it's odd that it's so early, but I thought it was time to at least kick off this holiday season right by getting you all something special. And you know what? You don't have to do anything but just sit right there, because that gift is coming to you in 3, 2, 1. It's beautiful, isn't it? It's gorgeous. I could watch that for hours and hours. Just that, the pow! It just warms the cockles, you know? Warms the cockles. I think I'm saying that word right? Or else this is going to be TVMA. Yeah. Anyways, here are my picks for this week's Lock It Up. Week 13 in the NFC West, and one special game in there as well. So for that special game, I'm taking the Cowboys over the Saints. I'm taking the Cardinals over the Bears. Taking the Rams over the Jaguars. And of course, as that video alluded to you, I'm taking the Niners over the Seahawks. Yeah, man. You know what? It's so nice, we should watch it twice. Put it on again. Oh, it's easily one of the sexiest videos I've ever watched. Just fire. Catch you later.
It's time for Lock It Up.
You lock it up.
You lock it up. Seems to be a log jam at the top of the heap here.
Why did you have to go there? Why?
I mean, the good news is I'm in like the position the 49ers were in a few weeks ago, where I just have to get to the best of the mediocre.
It's true.
So I look up there and I see the mediocre at the top.
True, it's all mediocre.
Hey, here. TCC, we're tied there. I appreciate it. Yeah.
TCC with a big week last week, man. 3-1. The Azorean One also went 3-1. Me and Horse both go 2-2, so we stay tied for that lead, and the Azorean One jumps in there with us. And bad week for you, back to back. Uncharacteristic, but I have a feeling you're going to bounce back this week.
You know what the good one is, though? The one is the 49ers win.
True.
The 49ers have prevented me from going 0-4 2 weeks in a row. I'm very appreciative of that. So yeah, I'm not really worried about it. It's a long season. We'll see what happens to Lock It Up. I'm going to do my best to make a valiant comeback. I am the champion, so I'll have to be defeated outright, but I have a feeling this is about to...
That's why you have that fancy red box around your name, man, because you are the champ.
Well,
and
thank you.
TCC's got the white box because of the newbies on the block, and the rest of us are just normal scrubs who didn't win last year.
Well, I have a feeling that one of you might win it this year.
Possibly.
So we'll see.
I'm not going to count my chickens before I hatch, though.
Yeah.
But look, it starts with this first game. And now, you all are watching this on a Friday. We're making these picks on a Wednesday night. And Thursday, the game is happening. So the score and the results are already out there. We're going to see if we're biting our foot's up our behinds, our foot in our mouth, or whatever it is, or if we were accurate, Ant, Cowboys Saints. You saw what the Azorean One picked already for that game. Where are you going with this?
I'm going with the boys. Yeah, I'm rolling with the Cowboys. I don't have enough confidence in the quarterback for the New Orleans Saints. I think the Cowboys are a better football team than the Saints. I think they're going to win it 33-20.
I like that score. 33-20 is a nice score. The return of Alvin Kamara is the only thing that had this on my mind as questionable, because Kamara can do a lot of things and also make Simeon's job a lot easier at the quarterback position. Also allows them to do some creative things, potentially with Taysom Hill. However, there's a lot of firepower with the Dallas Cowboys. Still potentially no Amari Cooper, but CeeDee Lamb is going to be back in the lineup and healthy. That should open up a lot of things. The emergence of both Tony Pollard and Ezekiel in the backfield and what they've been able to accomplish there, I think it's just going to be a little too much to handle for the Saints, and I see this thing going 28-21 Cowboys. Horse, though, Ant, swerve, curveball, and it's worked for him the last few weeks that he's done this. He's going with the Saints here when everyone else is unanimously going with the Cowboys, including the cutback crew at 60%.
Yeah, that's bold. We'll see if it pans out and works out for him. I don't know, though. I don't know what he sees the reason the Saints are going to beat the Cowboys, but it's
the only thing I can think is Kamara, and we'll see.
We'll know. We'll know right now. I mean, everyone that's watching this knows.
You already know
if Horse was completely wrong or if all the rest of us screwed the pooch.
It's true.
Yeah.
I'll be in the comments section, either yucking it up or face palming, one of the two.
Yeah,
one of the two. Ant. Next up on the docket, a game that hasn't happened yet. Thank goodness for that. The Arizona Cardinals, Ant, with a fairly favorable matchup against the Chicago Bears. Can the Red Rifle beat out potentially Kyler Murray's return, potentially D-Hop's return? Even if D-Hop's not there, can he outduel Kyler Murray?
No, I don't think so. I really don't. And even if it's Colt McCoy, I think that the Cardinals are a better football team than the Chicago Bears at this point in the season. I still didn't see a lot from Matt Nagy's offense, during their last football game. And I think that, yes, Andy Dalton can make some plays occasionally, but not enough to beat this Arizona Cardinals team. And I got the Cardinals winning the game 30-16. It's
a nice score right there, Ant. That's a very nice score. And look, everyone across the board feels the exact same way. TCC, though, only 68% with the Cardinals. A little surprised by that. The Azorean One, obviously, with the Cardinals, Horse going with the Cardinals, and myself. And yeah, that's really what it comes down to, is the amount of talent. There's just talent everywhere. Arizona's got talent coming out of every orifice of that team right now, and they're rolling. They've been clicking, and they've been finding a way to get it done without key pieces, so their confidence is sky high. I believe adding those pieces in just makes them that much more formidable and that much harder of a team to try and stop. The only good news is there's only been a handful of teams that have found really a formula to have success against the Arizona Cardinals, and that's the 49ers and the pieces you have at the linebacking core on your front, and the Green Bay Packers, who have put together quite an impressive defense this year, despite some of the names being questionable at best and not having some of their best pieces. The Bears don't have necessarily those pieces, and they have some guys injured on that defense, which makes it a lot harder to get it done. So therefore, the return of Kyler Murray, potentially, I have this being very, very ugly for the Chicago Bears, 38-13. But hey.
Not great for the Bears.
Not great for the Bears at all, Ant. Not great at all.
Maybe leading to the firing of Matt Nagy.
Possibly. Although the Bears have said they don't fire coaches in the middle of the season, Ant.
Okay.
They say they don't do it.
Well, it's good. He can wait for the last game then.
You can wait for what do they call it? Black Monday?
Yeah, I don't even think he makes it to that. I think like an hour after the game's like, oh, Matt Nagy's been fired.
Later, bro.
Officially over. Yeah, you're done.
Yeah, there's a good chance of that. Look, though, the Rams, Ant, have been struggling. A team that has not been doing a lot of great things, positive things, have not been able to really find their groove. Luckily for them, they got the Jacksonville Jaguars coming to town this week, and they get themselves back into rhythm. Can Aaron Donald and this defense become the dominant force that everyone believes they can be, and can their offense start putting some things together and scoring some points?
I think for 1 week they'll look like that for sure. I think this week they're going to look like they're a dominant football team. Just the matchups that they have against Jacksonville. Jacksonville is going to have to get the ball into Laviska Shenault's hand. They're going to have to get the run game going, and I'm worried about that run game getting going.
But will they get the ball into Laviska Shenault's hand?
That's a big question. And the thing is what will the Rams do with Jalen Ramsey? If the Rams decide to take Laviska Shenault away with Jalen Ramsey, they can do that. There's just not enough weapons for the Jacksonville Jaguars at this point. And so I think the Rams are going to win. I think the Rams are going to, win pretty handily. I think Jacksonville tacks on an extra, score late in the game, but it's going to be the Rams 28, Jaguars 18.
Yeah, that's a fair score. Horst agrees. Azorean One agrees. TCC 75% and agree, as well as myself. This is just there's too much. There's too much. Despite the Rams' struggles, there's too much. The Jacksonville Jaguars run defense has been pretty solid all season long, which could cause problems early in this game for the Rams. The Rams defense is going to bail them out. They're going to be able to slow down that run game. They're going to be able to get pressure on Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence is going to take some risky throws and some chances on Jalen Ramsey, and he's going to find out why you don't do that. And that's going to lead to extra possessions for the Rams, and they're going to be able to eventually build this thing up and run away with it. I don't know if they do it early in this football game because Jacksonville did run really tight with Arizona, and I see this being a very similar matchup where you have a team that is, when the run game is doing some positive things, makes the things a little bit easier for their offense. So I think they're able to keep this thing tight early, but then they eventually run away with this, and then they do tack on a score later in this football game to make it a little closer. I have this being a 31-17 victory for the Rams. So
Nice and close.
not too bad, but they eventually run this thing.
Gotcha.
Jacksonville is just crying, and Urban's going, maybe I should go to Notre Dame.
Higher pick.
A higher pick or Notre Dame?
Hey, he already said he's not going.
We'll see. His dream job.
Yeah, it was when he bypassed it last time.
I'm just saying, it is his dream job, so who knows? We'll see what happens there. But now, Ant, the game that everyone cares about, the game that is truly on everyone's mind, the 49ers going to the Seattle Seahawks, Ant, to face the 12 there in whatever it's, what is it called?
I don't know.
Quest Life?
Lumen now.
Lumen, okay.
Yeah, it used to be Quest
Field, whatever it was.
Century Link Field,
Yeah.
and I believe now it's Lumen.
All right, well, they're gonna travel down to Lumen Field Stadium, whatever it's called, to face the 12 and the Seattle Seahawks, Ant, in a matchup of two bitter rivals, situation where the Seahawks are on life support for their season, possibly their franchise, a rebuild looming, and the 49ers going in down some pieces. Can they get it done? Can they get this big win, push it to 4 straight, Ant, and move to 7-5 on the year?
Yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting game. I think that anytime you're playing a rival, and especially a division rival, with a lot riding on it, and possibly a team, in the midst of what could be a complete blow up if they lose the football game, I think they're going to scratch and claw, and they're going to be in the middle of this football game. However, I do think the 49ers are going to win, but I think they are going to struggle a little bit with the loss of Deebo Samuel. I think that's going to affect the offense. I believe that at times the defense is going to struggle with the loss of Fred Warner. I think they're going to be able to overcome in the end, but I think it's going to be a lot closer than any of us want it to be, and I think the 49ers win this game 27-23. I believe they're going to have a 27-16 lead, and Seattle's going to score late, and to no avail, they can't make it up in time, and the 49ers win.
I like that score, Ant. I really do. And look, everyone across the board agrees with you. Cutback Crew, again, 93%, 2 straight weeks, the faithful is flowing through their veins. I love it, Cutback Crew. I see this going very similarly. I see this being a really grind out battle. I said 325 yards, and while that's bold, I believe they're going to rush for a lot of yards. And I believe that is the biggest key to success in this game, is being able to control the clock, being able to get first downs, extend drives, and have long drives. Keep Russ off the field. Don't allow him opportunities to cook. I think he's going to cook at some point in this game. He always does against San Francisco for whatever reason, and it's always nonsensical, throw the ball up, BS, and it works out. I think he's going to get a couple of those plays and at least one touchdown possibly late in this football game that gets this game really, really, really tight and people maybe like nail biting a little bit. But I have this thing ending up 28-24 San Francisco.
Yeah, I think so. I think both of us have 4-point victories for the 49ers. It's not surprising that we think it's going to be a close one. With rivalry games, you just never know what's going to happen. And the 49ers have to officially put down the Seattle Seahawks. If we could get a blowout, that'd be great. I would love to be wrong about my score.
Yes, would love to be wrong about my score. I would appreciate a blowout, but at this point, we're just holding our breaths and hoping for the best for this 49ers team this week, hoping they can execute, hoping they can slow down the Seahawks enough to get themselves a lead, hold on to that lead, and get out of Seattle with a victory, move to 7-5, and win 4 straight. And Lock It Up is officially in the books. We got it done. Some interesting picks. Everyone really going the same across the board. We could have chalked that segment up to like 2 seconds, right? Come in. Everyone's picks are the same later.
Except for a horse with the Saints.
That's true, the Saints. I forgot about the Saints game. I still can't wrap my head around it. It's a curveball of curveballs. I really want to pick his brain on that one.
Yeah, I think he's taking a shot in the dark, hoping it works out for him. Maybe it will. I mean, we all should know by now, right?
True. At this point, technically at this point, everyone else will have known.
Yeah.
And we'll be just laughing at ourselves and being like, see, I told you so. in the comment section down below. But look, this was a great game preview. Hopefully a lot of good insight for you, Cutback crew, in terms of what to expect, key matchups, things to watch out for in this game. And we're looking forward to diving into this in depth even more tomorrow in the game plan video. And if you're on Patreon, then you get an all-22 film preview of the Seahawks game against the Washington football team, in which you'll get even more insight into the things we've already talked about on the game preview show number 1, but on the game plan video that comes out tomorrow morning at 11 a.m.
Yeah, I really enjoy the game plan video because in this one we talk about the key matchups, and how the team matches up against each other. But then in the game plan video, we really go over how the team is actually going to execute, whether what kind of plays and formations we're going to see them run, and how they're going to attack different sides of each team. I really enjoy that. It's going to be a lot of fun, but don't miss the rest of the Friday Frenzy as well. You got, What's Good with Jay in the Bay still coming up. And, of course, Know Your Opponent later on, where you're going to get some film breakdown of the Seattle Seahawks. So it's all exciting. And enjoy the rest of the Frenzy. And then, on Saturday, kick over there for the game plan video and get you really set up for what could be, the end of the Seattle Seahawks this season, officially out of the playoff hunt. Right now, they're only 2 games back of the last seed. So, they're really in it still. But can the 49ers finally finish them off?
Put the nail in the coffin. That's what they can do this week. They can do it to a rival team in the division, and make it so that there's one less team competing to muck up those last few playoff spots, and also keep pace with the Los Angeles Rams for that potential 5th seed and put themselves in an interesting matchup, whether that be against the Cowboys or whether it be against the Washington football team or whoever it is that comes out of the NFC East. So the 49ers are looking to keep themselves ahead of the game. We'll see what happens. We'll see you on the next one, Cutback crew, though. And until then, stay safe.
Remember, the right way
is always the 49ers way.